So I'd like to welcome everybody really to what promises to be an insightful and I think exciting day, looking at Cedar and why it's so important to addressing violence against women and also to improving the health and well-being of children and young people in Scotland today. There's been a lot of research into domestic abuse. We have enhanced understanding about the issues and what good practice looks like. We know the impact domestic abuse has on children and young people, that children are harmed by domestic abuse and that coercive control within their families, whether that's continual monitoring or isolation, verbal, physical, emotional or financial abuses, and the impact that has on them. We know that children from a very young age know about hurting in their families. We know that perpetrators of domestic abuse deliberately target the mother-child relationship, and we also know how important that mother-child relationship is and attachment to resilience of children and the recovery. And we know how trauma and how adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, impact on children's health and well-being and how it can impact on their long-term outcomes. We also know that Cedar works. Cedar's a unique approach based on a Canadian model that was developed by two very forward-thinking women, Susan Loosley and Michelle Padden. It's evidence-based recovery group programme for children and young people who have experienced domestic abuse. Cedar helps children and young people recover from their shared experiences, understanding that mothers are key to their aiding their child's recovery. It improves professional understanding of the causes, consequences and impact of domestic abuse, and it improves partnership working, not just for the families attending Cedar, but also has a ripple effect. I'm so pleased to have been part of the Cedar story. I was delighted when Fife was chosen to be one of the pilot areas 10 years ago. We've been running Cedar since that time for the last 10 years, and we've had 400 children and 300 mothers attend Cedar groups. We've seen the impact of the programme firsthand. But don't take my word for it. In the first 3 years, we worked very closely with action researcher Dr. Cathy Sharp, who I'm really pleased here today from Research for Real. Cathy evaluated every aspect of Cedar. Sometimes it felt as if we sneezed, and Cathy recorded it. Our action research allowed us to tweak what we were doing as we went along, working collaboratively with mothers, partners, young people, and it gave us confidence in developing what's now recognised as Cedar. And Research for Real told us that the key to success was the collaborative nature of it, and it identified 5 components that are at the very heart of the programme. Firstly, it was Cedar's assessment process, which was an effective model of engagement. So families' views were sought from the very earliest stages. We engaged with mothers and families who struggled to work with other services. Families referred to Cedar were contacted at the earliest opportunity to build a relationship with the family and listen to their views at all stages. The second thing was that Cedar strengthens the mother-child relationship and improves attachment, which we know is vital in helping children overcome adversity, and that's core to everything that Cedar does. She also talked about a strengths-based approach, increasing the mother's capacity to support her own child with an emphasis on community resources. So as mothers and children go through Cedar programme, they feel less isolated and they're linked more into their local communities. There's also a strong focus on emotional literacy. Throughout Cedar groups, there's talks about feelings and with an emphasis on good mother communication. And by the end of group, we find that children and mothers are connecting more and talking more about their feelings. And Cedar supports peer learning. It's a multi-agency environment, recognising and building on the strengths of universal services. Now, I don't want to get bogged down in statistics, and there were quite a few flicking through the screens as you came in, but I think it's worth remembering that last year, police in Scotland recorded almost 60,000 incidents of domestic abuse. In 40% of those instances, children were living in the household during the most recent event. We know that over 100,000 children across Scotland experience domestic abuse. So basically, in every classroom across Scotland, we have a child with lived experience. I'm so pleased that Councillor Kelly Parry, representing COSLA, and Trevor Owen from the Scottish Government are here, because this is an issue that we need to address if we're going to meet national priorities. If we want children and young people to grow up loved, safe, respected, so that they realise their full potential and to improve the life chances of children, young people and families at risk, then we need to have everybody on board. We're all aiming to get it right for every child. Domestic abuse impacts on each and every one of the wellbeing or Shinari indicators. The Scottish Government and COSLA's Equally Safe strategy prioritises prevention and early intervention, and Priority 3 specifically outlines the need for specialist services, both one-to-one and group work support for services for children affected by violence against women and girls, in order to address the recovery needs. I don't think this is an option. I think we need to continue to develop and roll out good practice, listening to women and children. Cedar has a key role, and I'd like to give a big thank you to everyone who's made this possible, partners, referrers and co-facilitators. And I'd also just really like to thank the working group for this conference, because I think you've done a really good job in bringing together an interesting programme that I think we'll all enjoy throughout the course of the day. And really, with no more ado, I would like to move on, because we're quite a tight programme, and I would really like to introduce our first speaker, who is Councillor Kelly Parry, who's the Community and Wellbeing Spokesperson for COSLA. Yeah.